Yesterday we completed some topics, that is preparation, properties of some about hydrogen, and also some of the uses of hydrogen. That is, it is used for the synthesis of ammonia and synthetic petrol, like that. The most important use of hydrogen is hydrogen used in fuel cells. Very, very important, boys. Hydrogen is used in fuel cells as a fuel. See, what is this fuel cell? How this hydrogen is used? So, boys, what is this fuel cell? What is fuel cell? A fuel cell is nothing but it converts combustional energy. That means that is the energy released during combustion of any chemical entity, which is called as combustion energy, directly into electrical energy. The instrument which is used to convert all the combustion energy directly into electrical energy. That means combustion energy is nothing but heat energy. Here heat energy is converted into electrical energy. The instrument used for that purpose is called as a fuel cell. Combustion. What is the meaning of combustion? Burning of any substance in the presence of excess of oxygen is called as combustion. So combustion reaction is nothing but an exothermic reaction, boys. Exothermic reaction means heat energy will be released. That is, energy is called as during combustion, which is called as combustion energy. So that combustion energy now passed into the instrument. Automatically that converts electrical energy. So here practically, that is theoretically, we observe all the available heat energy is 100% converted into electrical energy. That means the theoretical efficiency of this fuel cell is 100%. So all the available heat energy 100% converts into electrical energy. So that means that is as per theory 100% efficiency for human this fuel cell. But practically our scientists reached up to 70%. So they are trying to improve the efficiency of this fuel cell. Sir, what is the use of this fuel cell? Because so here combustion energy is converted into electrical energy. See here hydrogen is used as a fuel. See, boys, let us take a container, a metal container, divided into three parts. So these are perforated carbon electrodes, boys. Okay. So one for connected with battery positive and the other one is a battery negative. So that converts into battery negative is called as cathodes. So which is, and the other one is anode. So another one is anode. So through this anode, I passed hydrogen gas. That means at anode, hydrogen gas is passed. At cathode, oxygen gas is passed. So through cathode, oxygen gas is passed. Through anode, hydrogen gas is passed. See, boys, here this hydrogen acts as a fuel. So this oxygen acts as oxidizing agent or oxidant. So here for the passage of electricity, so NaOH solution is required. So this is totally NaOH solution, boys. So this NaOH solution acts as electrolyte. See here, in the presence of this NaOH solution, this hydrogen gas and oxygen gas indirectly react with the presence of this NaOH solution. From this OH minus ion is coming out. In the presence of this alkali, this hydrogen and oxygen are indirectly react with each other. Hydrogen and oxygen. So at anode, so the passed hydrogen in the presence of OH minus converts into water molecule and evolution of 4 moles of electrons. That means loss of electrons. Loss of electrons is nothing but oxidation. Next, at cathode, that oxygen reacts with water, that is aqueous solution. So that is gains the 4 electrons and converts into OH minus. So that now total cell reaction available in this cell is, so add these two equations boys. So at anode oxidation takes place, at cathode reduction takes place. So add these two reactions, that gives net reaction. So 4OH minus 4OH minus is cancelled. 4 electrons and 4 electrons cancelled. So 2H2O here, 2H2O is remained. Now the remaining reaction. So 2H2O plus O2 gives 2H2O. So along that, a huge amount of heat energy is produced. This heat energy is combustional energy. This combustion energy, this instrument directly converts into electrical energy. This instrument is called as fuel cell. Here, hydrogen acts as a fuel. Hydrogen acts as a fuel. So that's why it is hydrogen oxygen fuel cell. That is why it is hydrogen oxygen fuel cell. So sometimes in place of hydrogen, that is hydrocarbons are also involved. That is a methane like gas. That is hydrocarbon oxygen fuel cells are also there. But the most important, best one is this hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, because hydrogen is plenty available from our universe. So that is why this hydrogen oxygen fuel cell is mostly used in spaceship cell. Spaceship, Apollo spaceship, this fuel cell is used. So in spaceships, so that is the hydrogen present in the universe is collected and oxygen is pumped into the cell. Automatically the reaction takes place. So during that reaction, water is coming out. This liquid water acts used for drinking purpose for that astronauts. That is used for this water molecule. The formed water molecules, water is used for drinking purpose for those astronauts, because spaceships having astronauts in. So astronauts drinking purpose, the generated current, the generated electricity is used for the run of that machine. That is spaceship. Okay. So this is hydrogen oxygen fuel cell. So most important fuel cell boys. Here hydrogen acts as a fuel in hydrogen oxygen fuel cells. Hydrogen oxygen fuel cells. Okay. So that means hydrogen is a most important fuel in fuel cells. Not only here, in rockets also hydrogen is used as a fuel. So that means these are the most important applications of this hydrogen. So sometimes hydrogen also used for the preparing fuel gases. So this is about fuel cells, boys. So this is about fuel cells. So here you should remember which one is the electrodes. That is carbon rods. Here NaOH is the electrolyte. Hydrogen acts as a fuel, oxygen acts as a oxidizing agent. These are the only requirements. From this equation, so for 2 moles water molecule formation, 4 moles electrons are involved. For 1 mole water, 2 moles electrons are used. For 2 moles water, 4 moles electrons involved. For 1 mole water, 2 moles and 2 moles electrons are required. So 2 moles electrons means 2 Faraday charge is required. 2 Faraday charge is 2 into 96,500 coulombs charge is required for the generation of this water molecule. That means something current is passed running. So that required current, that required charge is 2 Faraday charge is required. So that is 2 into 96,500 coulombs charge is required. Okay. It is about fuel cells. So the theoretical efficiency of fuel cell is 100%. But up to now we reach only 70%. Only 70%. That means remaining 30%, maybe we will reach it. We will reach. Okay. This is about fuel cells, boys. Next, hydrogen is also present in the fuel gas system. Hydrogen also present in the fuel gas system. What are those fuel gases? Those are the gaseous mixtures used as a fuel cell. Those are the gaseous mixtures used as a fuel. What are those fuel gases? See here. That is fuel gases. Another use of this hydrogen. One is water gas. Water gas contains hydrogen. That is a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen is called as water gas. A mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen is called as water gas. Next, semi-water gas. semi-water gas, that is carbon monoxide gas, hydrogen gas, along with them nitrogen gas is also there, which is called as a semi-water gas. Semi-water gas. Next, carbureted water gas. Carbureted water gas. What is that? Carbon monoxide, it is a gas. Carbon monoxide and hydrogen, along them hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbon, just like methane. So that mixture is called as carbureted water gas. That mixture is called as carbureted water gas. And the other one is coal gas. Coal gas. It is a combination of, which is also called as, here hydrocarbons, any hydrocarbon is used. If that is methane, that is called as coal gas. Coal gas is the combination of carbon monoxide, hydrogen, and methane. Here, any other hydrocarbon may also use, but here in particular methane is used. That is called as a coal gas. So, my dear boys, all these gases acts as a fuels for industry running or any other cases. So, in all these cases, there is hydrogen. In all these cases, there is hydrogen, because hydrogen is the good fuel. So that means, so fuel gas, most of the fuel gases contains hydrogen as a part. These are some uses of hydrogen, boys. So along these, yesterday I completed for the synthesis of ammonia in Haber's process, hydrogen is used. In petrochemicals, that is artificial petroleum, Fischer-Tropsch process, there also hydrogen is used. So in many cases, this hydrogen is used as a reagent or as a reactant for the synthesis of number of useful products. This is about hydrogen. Now we are entering into the compounds of hydrogen. So what is that? Yes. In our syllabus, from the compounds of hydrogen, we have three different compounds. One is water, second one is heavy water, and the third one is hydrogen peroxide. These are the three compounds in our syllabus from the compounds of water. Let us take, we are starting here with water. What is this water? Where it is available? So what are the properties of this water? What are the reactions of this water? So let us discuss the properties. See here. Now, water. So sorry, boys, before going to take compounds of water, compounds of hydrogen. So yesterday we missed hydrates. Let us complete first of all hydrates. That is very, very important. So in hydrogen, we have hydrates. See here, the topic is hydrides. Very, very, very important, boys. Hydrides. Very, very important. What are these hydrides? Hydrides are nothing but compounds of hydrogen with other elements. Hydrogen with other elements, the compound formed are called as hydrides. Here, hydrides are nothing but compounds of hydrogen with other elements. So compounds of hydrogen with other elements are called as hydrides. In these compounds, only two types of elements are there. Two types of elements. What are those? That is the other elements, and the other one is hydrogen. Only two types of elements. That's why these compounds are called as a binary compounds. These compounds are called as binary compounds. Binary compound means there is a compound having only two types of elements. Only two types of elements. For example, carbon combined with hydrogen, CH4. Here, carbon and hydrogen are there. Only two types of elements. Nitrogen combines with hydrogen, that gives NH3. Only two types of elements, nitrogen and hydrogen. That means a compound having only two types of elements are called as binary compounds. Here, our hydrogen with other elements, whatever it may be, the other elements in different elements. So those compounds are all having only two types of elements, All those are binary compounds. Binary compounds of hydrogen with other elements are called as our hydride set. Now, based on its preparation and properties, all the available hydrides are broadly divided into 4 types. Now we are entering into the types of hydrides. Now, types of hydrides. Types of hydrides. So, based on the preparation and properties, all the available hydrides are broadly divided into 4 types. One is saline or salt-like or electrovalent or ionic hydrides. Whatever it may be, the name is common any. Saline hydrides, salt-like hydrides, electrovalent hydrides, or ionic hydrides, whatever it may be. That is one of the parts. Second one, that is covalent or molecular hydrides. Covalent or molecular hydrides. Third one, metallic or interstitial or metallic, interstitial or non-stoichiometric hydrides. Metallic, interstitial or non-stoichiometric hydrides. And the last one, fourth one is polymeric or polynuclear hydrides. Polymeric or polynuclear hydrides. These are the 4 types of hydrides, guys. So these are the 4 types of hydrides. So what are these? One by one, we will discuss one by one. First of all, saline or salt-like hydrides. See here, for our convenient and for easy understanding, in our periodic table, how many blocks are there, boys? How many blocks are there? 4 blocks. S block, P block, D block, and F block. See here, saline or salt-like hydrides. These hydrides coming from S block elements. So when S block elements combined with hydrogen, different respective compounds are formed. Those compounds are called as saline hydrides. S block elements, 1A, 2A group elements, alkali and alkaline earth metals with hydrogen, this type of hydrides are formed. S block elements. Next, covalent or molecular hydrides. Mostly these are from P block metals and P block elements. And P block elements gives this type of hydrides. So P block elements with hydrogen gives molecular hydrides. Next, D and F block elements gives this type of hydrides. D and F block elements gives this type of hydrides. So that is, so different types. And so this is a way to classification. So it is entirely different. We will discuss later. Okay. S block elements gives salt-like hydrides. P block elements gives molecular hydrides. And D and F block collectively gives interstitial hydrides. So let us take one by one. Yes, we will explain. Wait. Arshit. That is so saline, salt-like or electrovalent or ionic hydrides. Ionic hydrides. This is the first category, boys. So what is this? That means these hydrides formed by 1A, which are nothing but alkali metals, boys. Alkali metals, and 2A, which are alkaline earth metals. So with hydrogen gives salt-like hydrides. Salt-like hydrides. That means alkali metals or alkaline earth metals, when combined with hydrogen, The formed compounds are called as salt-like hydrides. Salt-like hydrides. Let us take an example. So example, NaH, sodium hydrides. MgH2, magnesium hydrides. Magnesium hydrides. Okay. CaH2, calcium hydrides. So like potassium hydrides. So these are different types of hydrides. So here our alkali metal or alkaline earth metal with hydrogen. So this is only two types of elements are there in two types of elements. Okay. So see here, these are the hydrides. How these hydrides are formed? When alkali metal or alkaline earth metal is heated strongly in the presence of hydrogen in hydrogen gas. So alkali metal or alkaline earth metal is heated strongly in excess of hydrogen, automatically this type of hydrides are formed. So all these hydrides have ionic nature. All these hydrides have ionic nature. So that is why these hydrides are called as ionic hydrides. Here compounds are formed by the transfer of electrons. By the transfer of electrons. So for example, NaH I am trying to prepare any. So here an electron is transferred from sodium to hydrogen. That is why Na converts into Na plus ion, hydrogen converts into H minus ion. Between them, Na plus and COH minus, there is an electrostatic force of attraction. That is why NaH compound is formed. NaH. That means just like NaCl salt, NaH is formed. NaCl salt, just like NaCl salt, NaH compound is formed. That is why it is a salt-like hydride. Salt-like hydride. Here, this compound is formed by the transfer of electrons. By the transfer of electrons. Okay. So that means transfer of electrons is nothing but electrovalency. Electrovalency. That is why this type of compound are called as electrovalent hydrides. Electrovalent hydrides. Electrovalent hydrides. So see here. See here. What is that? What is that? So that is, I am explaining, that is, so in 1A group elements, lithium hydride. In 2A group elements, beryllium hydride and magnesium hydride. So these are also our 1A, 2A group metal hydrides, boys. But these three are covalent in nature. These three are in covalent nature, except these three hydrides. Remaining all metal hydrides are our salt-like hydrides. Our salt-like hydrides. Okay. So see here. So what are the properties of these hydrides? How this one is prepared? How this one is prepared? So preparation of these hydrides is when metal is heated in excess of hydrogen, automatically that respect to hydride is formed. Metal, that means if we want to prepare sodium hydrides, so automatically sodium is heated in hydrogen. Sodium is heated in hydrogen, that gives a sodium hydride. That gives a sodium hydride. Okay. So see here. Now, properties of hydrides. Properties of these hydrides. What are the properties of these hydrides? See boys, here let us take molten NaH I am taking it. Molten NaH I am taking it. Okay. So what is this molten NaH? This is just like molten NaCl. So it is on dissociation gives Na plus ion and H minus ion. Na plus ion and H minus ion. That is the ionization, boys. Here H minus ion is coming out. This H minus ion is called as hydride ion. This is called as hydride ion. Now if you pass electricity through this, at anodes, anion H minus ion is there. At cathodes, cation Na plus ion is available. So two H minus ions loses 2 electrons and converts into hydrogen gas and gains electrons, 2 electrons to Na plus and gives 2 sodium metal. That means sodium metal is formed at cathodes. Sodium metal is formed at cathodes and hydrogen gas is liberated at anode. This is very, very, very important, boys. So when metal, that is our salt-like hydrides, during electrolysis, hydrogen gas is liberated at anode. So generally hydrogen gas is liberated at cathode. Generally hydrogen gas liberated at cathode end. But in case of these hydrides, hydrogen gas is liberated at anode end. So this is the indication of existence of H minus ion. This is the indication of existence of H minus ion. This is also very, very important, boys. This is also a very, very important. Now, so some other reactions and some other reactions for these salt-like hydrides. That is, so NaH, which acts as a strong base, boys. In this reaction, this acts as a strong base. So this NaH reacts with water, that gives NaOH plus H2 gas. NaOH plus H2. A strong base is formed. So when any substance, when dissolved in water, a base is formed. That substance has basic nature. And here NaH has basic nature. This NaH has basic nature. Okay. Now some other properties. So all these hydrides are good reducing agents. That is, acts as good reducing agents. Reductants. These acts as good reductants. So see here how reductants at high temperature. At high temperature, these are the best reducing agent, boys. Some examples for this one. Example for this one are, for example, that is SiCl4, silicon tetrachloride, when reacts with NaH, that gives 4 moles NaOH, that gives SiH4 plus 4 NaCl. That means, so silicon loses chlorine and gains hydrogens. Addition of hydrogens is called as reduction. So therefore, here silicon involved in reduction. Here silicon involved in reduction. Next, one more reaction, that is carbon monoxide, 2CO, that is reacts with NaH, that converts into HCOO Na plus Cl. HCOO Na plus C. See, boys, here carbon is in +2 oxidation state. Here carbon is in 0 oxidation state. That means oxidation state of an element decreases. Decrease in oxidation state is reduction. That is done with NaH. That means this NaH acts as reducing agent. This NaH acts as reducing agent. Like this, number of chemical reactions are possible. In all those cases, our hydrates acts as best reducing agents. Best reducing agents. Now, these metal hydrides are also most useful to prepare complex hydrides. Those complex hydrides are also acts as best reducing agents. So what are those complex hydrides? Let us see. For example, lithium hydride. Now that lithium hydride reacts with aluminum hydride. So two hydrides join with each other. That is, lithium hydride reacts with aluminum hydride. That gives LiAlH4, which is called as lithium aluminum hydride. Lithium aluminum hydride, very, very important reducing agent. So without this lithium aluminum hydride, there is no reduction in organic chemistry. This is complex hydride, boys. This complex hydride is formed by the addition of these lithium hydrides. Okay, so very, very important, boys. That is LiAlH4. It is the best reducing agent. It is a strong reducing agent that is prepared with the help of these two hydrides. Like that, one more ending. That is NaH, sodium hydride, reacts with B2H6. B2H6 is nothing but diborane, boys. Diborane. So when sodium hydride reacts with diborane, that gives NaBH4. 2NaBH4. 2NaBH4, which is called as sodium borohydride. Sodium borohydride. This has Na plus ion and BH4 minus ion. So this is also complex hydride. This one also acts as good reducing agent. These are the best reducing agents in organic chemistry. Those are prepared like this. These are nothing but our salt-like hydrides. These are nothing but our salt-like hydrides. Very, very important. Very, very important. Now some physical properties about these hydrides. Some physical properties. That is, let us take the reactivity of these hydrides. So all these hydrides have high heat of formation. That means during formation of these hydrides, more amount of heat energy is released. More amount of heat energy released means there is a strong attraction between those two elements. That means this indicates, this gives about the stability of our hydrides. So more is the heat of formation, more is the stability. So stability is directly proportional to heat of formation. Stability is directly proportional to heat of. That means all these hydrides are most stable. All these hydrides are most stable. But stability decreases down the group. But stability decreases down the group. Why, sir? Why stability decreases? See here, let us take our alkali metals: lithium hydride, sodium hydride, potassium hydride, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium hydride, and cesium hydride. These are the hydrides. So top to bottom, here all hydrogens are lithium, small size increases, our alkali metal size increases. As top to bottom, size increases. As the size increases, because it is plus and minus, plus and minus, plus and minus, plus and minus. That means these are nothing but oppositely charged ion points. Because of that, lattice energy decreases. Because ionic compounds have lattice energy. So that means because the size increases, lattice energy of these hydrides decreases. As lattice energy decreases, stability decreases. Stability decreases. That means lithium hydride is more stable than cesium hydride. That means top to bottom, lattice energy decreases. That implies stability decreases. Because stability decreases, automatically reactivity increases. Less is the stable, more is the reactivant. That means cesium hydride is more reactive than lithium hydride. Cesium hydride is more reactive than lithium hydride. That means down the group, lattice energy decreases because the size increases. So because lattice energy decreases, stability decreases. As stability decreases, reactivity increases. These are all about your ionic hydrides. Very, very important. So all these ionic hydrides are also called as salt-like hydrides. Salt-like hydride. Yes, you should remember these reactions. No doubt. All these are required. All these are required. So this is ionic or salt-like hydrides. Next one, that is molecular or covalent hydrides. Second point, second type, that is molecular or covalent hydrides. Molecular or covalent hydrides. Okay. See, boys, what are these molecular or covalent hydrides? Here, hydrides are formed by sharing of electrons. Sharing of electrons. So previously transfer of electrons. Here sharing of electrons. Sharing of electrons gives a covalent bond. That's why this is called as a covalent hydride. So covalent hydride. So see here, these hydrides from p block elements. P block elements generally form this type of hydrides. P block elements generally form this type of hydrides. P block elements. Next, all these covalent hydrides exist as discrete molecules. All these covalent hydrides exist as discrete molecule. Discrete molecule means individual molecules. Between molecules, there is weak van der Waals forces. There is weak van der Waals forces or exist. Very, very important point, boys. So between molecule and molecule, van der Waals forces are existent. So because van der Waals forces are weak, therefore melting point and boiling point are low. Melting and boiling point of these hydrides is low. But in case of metallic hydride, in case of salt-like hydride, previous concept, their melting and boiling points are high, and those are existing in crystalline form. Crystalline form, just like our salts. NaCl crystal exists like that. Those hydrides are also in crystalline form. But these exist in discrete molecules. Between molecule and molecule, weak van der Waals forces are there. It is easy to separate. That's why these are also soft in nature, softened, and having low melting and boiling points. Okay. So, and also low conductivity. These have low conductivity. Electrical conductivity is also low. But salt-like hydrides, previous case, in molten state or fused state, those are good conductors. But these are low conductivity. So next, based on the formation, there are P block elements. A number of P block elements are there. Based on their formation and existence, so all these hydrides, all these covalent hydrides are broadly divided into three types. All these hydrides are broadly divided three types. Now the types of these hydrides. That is, so these are three types, boys. What are these three types? One is electron deficient hydrides. Next, electron precise hydrides. Electron deficient hydrides, electron precise hydrides, and the last one, electron rich hydrides. So covalent or molecular hydrides are three types, guys. Electron deficient hydrides, electron precise hydrides, electron rich hydrides. Now, one by one we will discuss it. See here, our P block element, boys. What are these P block elements? So elements from 13th group to 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, right? 18th group noble gas elements never form compounds. Okay. So now 13th group elements. What are those 13th group elements? Which is also called as a third A group elements, boys. It is third A, it is a fourth A, it is a fifth A, it is a sixth A, it is a seventh A. Third A, fourth A, fifth A, sixth A, seventh A. It is old notation. This is new notation. This is old notation, boys. Now, what are those elements? This is boron, aluminum, gallium, indium, thallium. Next, carbon, silicon, germanium, tin, lead. Nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, bismuth. Next, oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, polonium. Fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, astatine. These are the elements, boys. These are the elements in that group. Now these elements combine with hydrogen. So what type of compounds are formed? This is BH3 compound formed. AlH3 compound, ZaH3, IH3, TLH3. That means all these compounds have MH3 type molecules. M is the group element. MH3 type compounds. Next, carbon, CH4, SiH4. Like this, MH4 type compounds are formed. MH4 type compounds. Next, it is NH3, PH3, ASH3, SBH3, BiH3. All these are. So hydrates of 15th group elements. These are nothing but MH3 type hydrates. MH3 type hydrates. So nitrogen has a lone pair, boys. Phosphorus has lone pair. Like this, that M has lone pair. That M has lone pair. Next, oxygen, H2O, H2S, H2SE, H2TE, H2P1, H2PO. So based on that, it is H2M type. Here oxygen has two lone pairs. Like that, every element has two lone pairs. Every element has two lone pairs. Next, arsenic is radioactive element. Don't consider this one. So it is a HF, HCl, HBr, HI, boys. So it is our HM type. Every fluorine has three lone pairs, boys. Like that, every halogen has three lone pairs. These are the formula. These are the formula for our P block elements. Hydrogen with P block elements. That means the general formula is H 8 minus N or MHN type. These are the general formula for hydrates of our P block elements. So 8 minus N, here N is nothing but group number. N is nothing but group number. So third year group, it is 3. Fourth year group, it is 4. Fifth year, 8 minus 3, 8 minus 5, 3 ending. It is 8 minus 6, 2 ending. 8 minus 7, 1. That means the general formula for this P block elements, P block hydrates is MH8 minus N or MHN type compounds. Here N is nothing but group number. N is nothing but group number. So it is very, very important. S valence here, group number valence here. Now, all these hydrates are covalent hydrates. So except this HF. HF is ionic. This HF is ionic hydrate. Remaining all hydrates are covalent. Remaining all hydrates are covalent. See, boys. So let us take our ALH3. This ALH3 is like that. Aluminum third group element. So that's why it has 3 unpaired electrons and an empty orbital. With these 3 unpaired electrons, hydrogen involved in bond formation. It is ALH3. Aluminum has a central empty orbital. That means it is bond. 3 bond means 3 to 6 electrons. So that means it has only 6 electrons at the central atom, less than 8 electrons, boys. That means it is electron deficient. It is electron deficient. So that means the central atom has less than 8 electrons. Less than 8 electrons. It has electron deficiency. That is why our 13th group elements can form electron deficient hydrides. That means at the central atom, less than 8 electrons is possible. That means at the central atom, empty orbital is exists. So that means all these accept electron pair from others. That means these acts as electron pair acceptors. Electron pair acceptors are nothing but, as per our Lewis theory, acids. These are acts as Lewis acids. These are acts as Lewis acids. Electron pair acceptors. That is electron deficient hydrides. All these electron deficient hydrides acts as Lewis acids. Our 13th group element hydrides are Lewis acids. Lewis acids, because the central atom has electron gainer. That is, it has empty electron gainer. Okay. So this is, that means among P block elements, 13th group element gives the electron deficient hydrides. In these electron deficient hydrides, central atom has less than 8 electrons. That is electron deficient. Next, 14th group elements. Let us consider 14th group elements. Nothing but 4th year group elements. This is carbon, boys. Carbon. Now, what is the structure of this carbon? CH4. Already we know that is a tetrahedral structure. That is a tetrahedral structure. See here. CH4. Carbon with 4 hydrogens, boys. Tetrahedral structure. So 4 bonds, 4 to 8 electrons at the central atom. So exactly 8 electrons are. That means it is no rich, no loss. That means exact 8 electrons are. That is why this is called as electron precise condition. That means having 8 electrons at the central atom. Having 8 electrons at the central atom, it is electron precise molecules. Our 14th group elements acts as electron precise molecules. Generally, these have tetrahedral shape. So generally, these have tetrahedral shape. Okay. So this is electron precise. Electron precise means central atom has exactly 8 electrons. Electron deficient means central atom has less than 8 electrons. Now, remaining elements. So 15, 16, 17 group elements. These elements involved gives electron rich hydrides. Electron rich hydrides, that is 15, 16, 17 group element hydrides. So all these also have 8 electrons at the central atom. 8 electrons at the central atom. But here only bond pairs are. Here only bond pairs are exist. ALH3. Here also only bond pairs are exist. But it is less than 8 electrons. It is exactly equal to 8 electrons. But here, so 8 electrons are there, but both lone pairs and bond pairs are exist. Both lone pairs and bond pairs. See here, nitrogen with 3 hydrogens, 3 bonds are there. 6 electrons in bond pairs, 1 electron in lone pair. Here also 2 lone pairs. Here 3 lone pairs. That means these have electrons as lone pairs. Lone pair species generally ready to donate electrons. So they behave like rich molecules. They behave even though they have 8 electrons at the central atom, but some of the electrons exist as lone pairs. These are ready to donate the electrons. That is why these behaves like electron rich. So these are ready to donate electrons. That means these acts as these ready to donate. These acts as automatically Lewis bases. Lewis bases, electron pair donors, boys. Electron pair donors. Now these hydride stability top to bottom decreases. Hydride stability top to bottom decreases. So these hydride stability top to bottom decreases, no doubt. So as decrease because bond length increases. So in these cases, top to bottom, bond length increases, stability decreases. Stability decreases. Okay. Not only here, there also. That is why HI is more acidic than HF. From that, hydrogen is ready to come out. So bottom elements, bottom compounds, bottom hydrides acts as good acids, ready to donate hydrogen. So top to bottom, bond length increases, stability decreases. So generation of hydrogen increases. So acidic nature increases. Acidic nature increases. So this is the way. To explain 3 types of hydrides. Here only 13th group elements. These are 14th group elements. So these are 15, 16, 17th group elements. So here also 8 electrons exist, but lone pairs exist. These are electron donating groups. So this is about your covalent hydrides. Now third case. What is that third case? So see here. Now that is metallic, third case. Metallic or interstitial or non-stoichiometric hydrides. Metallic, interstitial or non-stoichiometric hydrides. So which elements can form this type of hydrides? So that is D and F block elements form this type of elements and this type of hydrides. D block and F block elements generally form this type of hydrides. So I am taking D block elements, boys. So here in old days, see here, So our D block elements plus hydrogen heating with high pressure gives this type of hydrides. So hydride is formed in D block elements. Our hydrogen gas. So heating, very strong heating, high temperature with high pressure. So this non-stoichiometric or interstitial hydrides are formed. Now in old days, scientists feel that. So see here, boys. These are our D block metals. Metals are side by side arranged. So this is the arrangement of our metal atoms. So see here. This is the gap between atom and atom. This is red shaded end. This is the gap between atom and atom. That gap is called as interstitial gap, which is called as interstitial gap. So this gap sometimes also called as void end, which is also called as void, interstitial void or interstitial gap. If hydrogen gas is passed through this solids, automatically these gaps are filled with hydrogen. These gaps are filled with hydrogens. That means hydrogen is filled at the interstitial positions of metal solids and metal solids. That is why these hydrides are also called as interstitial hydrides, because here hydrogen is located at the interstitial position. In old days, this is the filling end. This is the filling. That means exact ratio of hydrogen is not available, boys. The perfect ratio is not maintained. So this amount of a metal combined with that amount of hydrogen, this is not exactly. So that means unbalanced forces are attracted. That is, unbalanced hydrogens are attached. So that means stoichiometry is not accepted here, violated in. That means, so different variety of compounds are possible. See here, for example, that is, I'm taking, this one is titanium. This titanium combined with hydrogen with, that is 1.5 to 1.8. What is this? It is ratio and fraction. So not exact number is there. That means, so stoichiometry rules are violated. That is why it is called as non-stoichiometric compound. Non-stoichiometric compound. Just like that zirconium with hydrogen. That gives 1.3 to 1.75. It is also not exact number. So see here, for example, magnesium with hydrogen, 2 hydrogens fixed. Aluminum with hydrogen, 3 hydrogens fixed. That means the stoichiometric rules are whole scores. But here stoichiometric rules are not whole scores. These are all considered as non-stoichiometric compounds. That's why these hydrides are called as non-stoichiometric hydrides. So this is the concept in old days. But nowadays, so see here, this is the atoms. This is the surface of these metal atoms. On this surface, hydrogen gas is attracted. That means adsorption takes place, boys. Adsorption. That means if it is a palladium metal, hydrogen gas is attracted. On the surface, which is called as accalsion. Accalsion is nothing but this interstitial hydride. That means here adsorption takes place on the surface end. So today we are explaining this concept as adsorption, not absorption, not AB. It is AD end. AD means only on the surface, not entered into the interior part of the material. So that means if it is the atom, only attacks on the surface. So not entered into the interior part. Okay. So this is adsorption. So latest notation, not at interstitial places, adsorb, gas is adsorbed. That means hydrogen is very rich on the surface of palladium, which is called as, in particular, colloidal palladium or powdered palladium. So their surface area is more is the surface area, more is the hydrogen attracted. So that is, in second year, we will discuss that adsorption concept. Okay. So now this is latest, this is old. So this is interstitial conditions. Now, but in D block elements, some of the metals doesn't give hydrides. So what are those elements? Please try to mind it. So it is all facts, boys. That is, what is that? Our scandium, D block elements are scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc. These are the elements, boys. Okay, so this is third B group element, fourth B, fifth B, sixth B, seventh B. So these groups, these three elements are considered as eighth B. It is 1B, it is 2B, and it is 2B. In new notation, it is third group, fourth group, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th. And these are new notation, boys. See here, this scandium group elements form hydrides, titanium group elements form hydrides, vanadium group elements form hydrides, but in chromium group, some elements form hydrides and some elements not form hydrides. Some elements form hydrides, some elements not form. But manganese, iron, cobalt, and these group elements never form hydrides. So these can form hydrides. These can form hydrides. That means in D block elements, some group elements never form hydrides. That is why. So see here, here is a gap, and here is a gap for hydrogen and hydride formation. This gap is called as hydride gap. So that means, what is this hydride gap? In D block elements, some of the elements having groups, that means the manganese group elements, iron group elements, cobalt group elements never form hydrides. Never form hydrides. And chromium group, some elements form, some elements not form. So that gap is called as a hydride gap. Hydride gap, very, very important, boys. What is that hydride gap? 7th, 8th, 9th groups completely not form hydrides. Completely not form hydrides. 7th, 8th, 9th group elements. But 6th group elements, some can form, some cannot form. So these please be minded. So it is all observed facts and observed facts. So okay. So this is all about your interstitial hydrides. It is a third type of hydrides. Next, fourth type of hydrides. That is fourth type, polymeric or polynuclear hydrides. Polymeric or polynuclear hydrides. So what type of hydrides? Here polymeric structures are exist, not individual molecules, so not discrete molecules. So combination of number of series of molecules gives a polymer. So that polymeric structures are exist here. So what type of elements can form this type of polymeric hydrides? See here. So here elements, our metal or whatever it may be, having electronegativity is in between 1.4 to 2.0. Those elements having electronegativity in between 1.2 to 2.0. In between 1.4 to 2.0. So those elements having electronegativity in between this condition. So those elements can form this type of hydrides. Those elements can form this type of hydrides. Okay. So the best example for these are beryllium, BeH2, or magnesium hydride, MgH2, aluminum hydride, AlH3. All these are not discrete molecules, means so all these are in polymeric structure. Number of N-type molecules are combination. So N-type of that type of molecules are combined with each other and form polymeric structure. I will explain with one of them. I will explain, boys. Please see here. So here the important condition is those elements or metals having electronegativity value is in between 1.4 to 2.0 can form this type of polymeric hydrides, polynuclear hydrides. Okay. So the properties of these hydrides, properties of these hydrides are in between ionic hydrides and covalent hydrides. In between ionic hydrides and covalent hydrides, the properties are in between. Okay, so let us take an example, that is the beryllium hydride, boys. So the structure of this beryllium hydride is like this. So the structure of this beryllium hydride is like this. See here, beryllium hydrides. These are beryllium hydrides. These are beryllium hydride, boys. B. Like this, number of beryllium hydrides are there. Number of beryllium hydrides are there. So see here, this beryllium hydride, this hydrogen of this beryllium may combine with this one. This one are combined with this one. Like this, they are combined with each other. This is already we observed in the time at the time of our diboron structure. In diboron structure, this type of structure we observed. See here. So these hydrogens acts as a bridge between this beryllium and beryllium. So that is why this hydrogen and this hydrogen, not only this, these hydrogens acts as a bridge. Bridge hydrogens are there, boys. Bridge hydrogens are there. Okay, so that is a bridging unit. And so these hydrogens are called as bridge hydrogens. This is a bridge hydrogen. So that means all these hydrogens are acts as bridge. That means this is continuation manner. All these are continuation manner. Okay, so this is a polymeric structure. This is one nucleus, this is another nucleus, this is a polynuclear structure, polymeric structure. So this type of structure is possible here, here and here also, here and here also. See, boys, in this structure, so here between these two, a banana-like bond is formed. So this is also a banana-like bond. What is this banana-like bond, boys? That is nothing but 3-centered 2-electron bonds. That means in these compounds, there exists 3-centered 2-electron bond. That is what we observe in diboron. So diboron contains 3-centered 2-electron bonds. Here also, yes. Here also, 3-centered 2-electron bond is possible. 3-centered. That means these molecules also contains 3-centered 2-electron bonds. 3-centered 2-electron bonds. So these are very, very important, boys. So these are acts as best reducing agents, good reducing agents. So very, very important. So good reducing agents. So these are involved in stable some addition reactions. Also involved in some addition reactions with ethers and amines. So reacts with water. So like that, some other properties may also possible. But here polymeric structure is exists. That is why. So these are called as polymeric hydrides. So among these three hydrides, the most important hydrides and some most important points in it. See here. Oh, I missed that. What is that? In case of saline hydrides and interstitial hydrides. Saline hydrides and interstitial hydrides. Here density of hydride is greater than that of density of corresponding metal. In case of saline hydrides, density of hydride is greater than that of density of metal. But here density of hydride is less than that of density of metal, boys. So very, very important. So in case of interstitial hydrides, density of hydride less than. Why, sir? Why? Because, so see here, these are the metal atoms and closely packed. So after adding hydrogen between these two, that means the size of the volume of these, some distortion is there, any size and volumes are increased because the density is inversely proportional to volume. As the volume increases, density decreases. So it is all about after addition of hydrogen. That means in case of hydrides, volume increases, density decreases. That is in case of interstitial hydrides. But here density increases. Number of atoms per unit surface area, that is unit volume increases, density increases in case of saline hydrides. But here hydrides, decreases. Okay, so it is very, very important. Now we are entering into the compounds of hydrogen. Compounds of hydrogen. In our syllabus, the compounds are water and heavy water, and lastly hydrogen peroxide. Now I am trying to explain about water. See here, water, its formula is H2O. Water, its formula is H1. In our nature, the purest form of water, the purest form of water is rainwater, boys. Rainwater is the purest form. So impure form of water is seawater. Seawater, number of salts are mixed there, complete impure water. Okay, so purest form of water is acid rain. Sorry, not acid rain, boys. Normal rain. Rainwater is the purest form, and seawater is impure form. In our air, almost 3/4 of surface is occupied with this water. Okay, now, so water at room temperature exists in liquid state. So associated liquid any, because of intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Already I completed at the time of hydrogen bonding. So water exists as a liquid because of intermolecular hydrogen. The solid form of water is ice. So the crystalline form of water is ice. It is crystalline form, guys. So in ice, see here, density of ice is less than that of density of water, liquid water. Density of ice is less than that of liquid density of water. That is why ice floats on water. Why, sir? Why density of ice is less than water? See here, this is the structure of that water. So let us take, this is water molecule, boys. I am trying to draw ice structure. This is water molecule. This is water molecule. This is also water molecule. This is water molecule. Okay, this is water molecules, boys. So all these are covalent bonds. These are all covalent bonds. Now, this central water is surrounded with 4 other water molecules. This water molecule is surrounded with 4 other water molecules. So tetrahedrally, 4 other water molecules are surrounded. Okay. Now, between these water molecules, there exists intermolecular hydrogen bonding, boys. So between this one also intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Between this one also. So that means one oxygen has total 4 bonds. Among them, 2 are covalent bonds, 2 are hydrogen bonds. So every oxygen has 4 bonds. 4 bonds. So among them, 2 covalent bonds and 2 hydrogen bonds. Now this water molecule is surrounded with 4 other water molecules tetrahedrally. This is the tetrahedral structure. So see here, it seems to be tetrahedral. It seems to be tetrahedral. See here, I am drawing. It is a tetrahedral structure, boys. That means in water, in ice, this is the structure of ice, boys. In ice, so water molecule is covered with 4 other water molecules tetrahedrally. So each oxygen covered with 2 hydrogen bonds and 2 covalent bonds. Because of this, a lot of empty space inside it is available. That means more is the volume, less is the mass. More is the volume, less is the mass. Because of that, density is low. So because of this, the density is low. Therefore, density of ice is less than that of density of water. Density of ice is less than that of density of water. Next, H2O, water is a polar solvent. H2O, water is a polar solvent. Okay, so most of the solvents, most of the chemicals are soluble in water. Most of the chemicals are soluble in water. That is why water is considered as universal solvent. Water is considered as universal solvent. Okay, so that is why. So water is very, very important. Next, without water, our life is not there. We require water and drinking water. Okay, see here now how to prepare this water. What are the properties of this water? See here, I will explain. Now, preparation of water. Preparation of water. That is liquid water, boys. See here. So that is reaction of salt with water and that is acid plus base combination gives salt and water. Acid plus base combination gives salt and water. It is one of the preparation methods. Now, second one, that is when oxide, non-metal oxides, this one reacts with acids, H2SO4, that gives, that is CaSO4 plus H2O. CaSO4 plus H2O, that is the preparation of water. And also, when hydrogen combined with oxygen, that also gives H2O, but it is a very slow reaction. Very slow reaction, boys. This is the way water molecules are prepared. Now, what are the properties of this water? Properties of water. Properties. So, water involved in self-ionization. It is very, very important, boys. Self-ionization, which is also called as autoprotolysis. Autoprotolysis or self-ionization, very, very important. That is, water molecule is there. This water molecule combined with another water molecule. So that is in equilibrium with this one transfers a proton to that one. That means first one converts into OH minus 1. That is H3O plus ion. That means this is the molecule which donates proton, acts as acid. This is the water molecule which acts as proton. That's why it is acts as base. That means water acts as base as well as acid. Therefore, this water has both acidic nature and basic nature. That's why it is amphoteric nature. Amphoteric nature. As per Bronsted-Lowry theory, as per Bronsted-Lowry acid-base theory, water is amphoteric. Water is amphoteric. Itself, water is going to be protonated in it. That means it transfers proton from one water molecule to another water molecule. This itself donation of proton is called as autoprotolysis. Itself is called as autoprotolysis. Okay. So now Kw, dissociation constant of water is, that is H plus concentration to OH minus concentration, which is nothing but H3O plus ion concentration to OH minus concentration, right? It is Kw. Its value is directly proportional to temperature. As temperature increases, Kw, that is the dissociation of that water also increases. Dissociation. So at 25 degrees centigrade, that is Kw is equal to 1.0 into 10 power minus 14 moles square per liter square. So Kw is equal to 1.4 into 1.0 into 10 power minus 14 moles square per liter square. All those were completed at the time of ionic equilibrium, boys. Now, some other properties of this water. Some other properties of this water. That is, water reacts with metals and metal oxides, non-metals and non-metal oxides. So see here, when water reacts with metals and reacts with metals, that is, so for example, sodium reacts with water, that gives NaOH plus H2, hydrogen gas is liberated. So any active metal reacts with water, liberates hydrogen gas. That gives a base, alkali, water soluble bases. Next, for example, magnesium reacts with water. That one also gives magnesium hydroxide and also liberates hydrogen. That means when metals reacts with water, liberates hydrogen gas. Now, metal oxides. Metal oxides. That is, I'm taking Na2 it is metal oxide wise. So this metal oxide, when dissolved in water and reacts with water, that gives 2 moles NaOH. So only alkali is formed. Because of this reaction, our metal oxides are basic in nature, soluble in water. Now, just like that, calcium oxide, and it reacts with water, that gives 2, that is CaOH twice, calcium hydroxide. It is also base. That means when metal oxides reacts with water, give respect to bases. When metals reacts with water, gives respect to bases along with liberation of hydrogen gas. Along with liberation of hydrogen gas. So this is reaction with metals and metal oxides. Now reaction with non-metals and non-metal oxides. This is with the non-metals, boys. Very, very important. With the non-metals, that is, let us take halogens are our non-metals. Fluorine, it is very, very important reaction. When fluorine reacts with water, that gives HF plus O2. So HF plus O2, that means oxygen gas is liberated, boys. Not only that, it is 2H2O gives that reaction, and same fluorine reacts with 3H2O, that gives HF. It is that is 2HF, 2F2, 2H2O, 4HF, 3F2, 3H2O gives 6HF plus O3. That means when fluorine reacts with water, that gives both oxygen gas and ozone gas are liberated. Both are liberated. This mixture, the mixture of O2 gas and O3 gas, both these gases are called as ozonized gas, ozonized oxygen. So it is called as ozonized oxygen. When fluorine reacts with water, gives ozonized oxygen. There more percentage of oxygen and less percentage of ozone. Less percentage of ozone. Very, very important reaction, boys. Next, when chlorine reacts with water, which is called as chlorine water, this gives HCl and HOCl, hydrochloric acid and hypochlorous acid. This is unstable, boys. Once again, it is dissociated into HCl and O1. So this is nascent oxygen, just like your nascent hydrogen. This is responsible for oxidizing action of this chlorine water. Therefore, chlorine water is the good oxidizing agent. Good oxidizing agent. So see here, when chlorine reacts with H2O, that gives HCl and HOCl. HCl and HOCl. Similarly, when bromine reacts with water, which is called as bromine water, so same HBr plus HOBr are the products. So this is the reaction of chlorine, chlorine, and bromine with water, and these are non-metals. Non-metals. So when nitrogen reacts, so no water and no reaction. So okay. So these are the reactivity of halogens with water. So the reactivity of these halogens with water from top to bottom decreases. Now non-metal oxides, boys. Non-metal oxides. Reaction with non-metal oxides. What about these non-metal oxides? That is our non-metal, so let us take chlorine, non-metal Cl2O7. When reacts with water, gives HClO4. That is perchloric acid. When metal oxides reacts with water, gives bases, and non-metal oxides reacts with water, gives acids. It is perchloric acid. Now N2O5, non-metal oxide, when reacts with water, gives HNO3. It is nitric acid. SO2 reacts with water, non-metal oxide, gives H2SO3, sulfurous acid. If SO3 reacts with water, that gives H2SO4. All these are acids, boys. All these are acids. All these are non-metal oxides. When non-metal oxides reacts with water, gives respect to acids. Respect to acids. So when metal oxides gives respect to bases, non-metal oxides gives respect to acids. So that is why metal oxides are acidic in nature and non-metal oxides are basic in nature. So this is the reactivity of our non-metal oxides and towards our water. Now, and very, very important, reaction with the salts. And reaction with the salts. Please don't confuse, boys. I will explain the concept. Very, very important. That is reaction with water. Reaction with the salts. Reaction with the salts. What is the reaction with salt? See here. That is our salt, let us take, that is CuSO4. This CuSO4 reacts with 5 moles water, that gives CuSO4 5H2O. It is a compound, boys. Similarly, when AlCl3, aluminum chloride, it is also salted. It is salted. This one reacts with water, that gives AlOH thrice plus HCl. AlOH thrice plus HCl. So this is the reaction, boys. Now, is there any difference between these two? Is there any difference between these two? See, boys, it is the salt. Here I added water. This water is just attached. No reaction takes place between CuSO4 and water. It is just physical change. Anhydrous salt converts into hydrated salt. It is physical interaction. Here physical interaction takes place. It is anhydrous, boys. It is hydrated. This is hydrated. That means there is a physical interaction between water and some of the salts. But here reaction, that means AlCl3 going to be break. That means Al with water, OH, and hydrogen with chlorine. This is the reaction. Here bond breaking, cleavage is available. Cleavage is available. That means there is a reaction between this AlCl3 and H2O. That means new compounds are formed. It is called as chemical reaction. Chemical reaction. It is chemical reaction. It is a physical interaction. This physical interaction, the concept is called as hydration. That means physical interaction of salt with water is called as hydration. Chemical reaction of salt with water is called as hydrolysis. There is a difference between hydration and hydrolysis. Hydrolysis is nothing but a chemical reaction. Hydration is nothing but a physical interaction. Just no reaction takes place. No reaction takes place. So here, olysis, wherever olysis is there, the compound is break. Hydro means water and so by using water, olysis takes place. By using water, this chemical is going to be break, which is called as hydrolysis. It means hydrolysis and very, very important. Okay. So it is very, very important. So hydration means only physical interaction. Hydration means physical. That means the chemical is hydrated. Means water molecules is added. The solid, the salt, the chemical is reacted with water. That is called as hydrolysis. So that means physical interaction of salts with water is called as hydration. Chemical reaction of salt with water is called as hydrolysis. So there is a lot of difference between this hydration and hydrolysis. Hydration is a physical change. Hydrolysis is a chemical change. Hydrolysis is a chemical change. Very, very important. Now, some of the examples. That is, so that is aluminum, Al4C3, aluminum carbide. When this aluminum carbide reacts with water, that gives AlOH thrice plus methane. Guys, is this hydrolysis reaction or hydration reaction? Tell me. Is this hydrolysis reaction or hydration reaction? Is this hydrolysis reaction or hydration reaction? Yes. So compound is going to be break. Hydrolysis reaction. Next. So it is aluminum carbide. Aluminum carbide. Now Be2C, beryllium carbide. When beryllium carbide reacts with water, that gives BeOH twice plus methane. So BeOH twice plus methane. So this is methane gas. This is methane gas. So this is beryllium carbide. Beryllium carbide. So that means aluminum carbide or beryllium carbide when reacts with water, that gives a corresponding base, that is methane. Methane is the productant. That is why these two carbides, whatever it may be, when reacts with water gives methane. That is why these carbides are called as methanides. Methane forming carbides. Methane forming carbides, that's why those are called as methanides. For example, if calcium carbide, CaC2, calcium carbide. Calcium carbide, its structure is calcium C triple bond C like this. So it is calcium carbide, boys. When this calcium carbide reacts with water, that gives calcium hydroxide and C2H2. What is this C2H2? which is acetylene. Acetylene. So C2H2, which is called as acetylene. So that is why this calcium carbide is called as acetylide. Very, very, very important. Which of the following is methanide? Which of the following is acetylide? So which is also called as ethane, no doubt. Which is also called as ethane. But the common name is acetylene. So acetylene forming carbide is called as acetylide. Methane forming carbides are called as methanides. Methane forming carbides are called as methanides. Okay. So these are some properties. These are some properties of water. So now types of water. Now types of water. So industrially, water is two types. That is hard water and soft water. Hard water and soft water. Tomorrow we will take about that hard water and soft